Hello, everybody. It's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, here to talk to you about something that happened last week and I think has some significant repercussions into the enterprise software world. And nothing else than SAP announcing cat out of the hat or rabbit out of the hat. SAP announcing its Business Data Cloud last week, February 13th, in New York at a specific event, large hype event probably, but I think adequately hype from that perspective. For me, it was combined with the Innovation Council, learned more about the different SAP offerings and products, a different line of B offerings, spent some time with the leadership there. But the key thing, really the historic landmark here is the announcement of SAP BDC. Why does it matter so much? It's been on a long haul, right? So I'm going to skip my personal interest or motivation in getting that going back then, and you can look that up on LinkedIn. I used to work for SAP not only once, but twice. But let's look at the more public things. Ayaz Kazi, former SAPler as well, has done a nice blog about how SAP for the first time tried to tackle the power of what I call infinite insights, right? The ability to store everything an enterprise wants to store without going out of business, without at the same time knowing how to analyze that data, right? And that innovation started with Hadoop in the advertising space around 2009, 2010. And for me has been always very relevant for the enterprise space because enterprise decisions are not just being made on transactional data, which SAP has done its own story about HANA, and HANA would be a totally separate video by itself again. But it's beyond that, right? Decisions are being made on information which is beyond that, which happens in the real world, which is weather, temperature. We all remember the weather.com acquisition for IBM, the heyday of that. Not saying that IBM did that right, but as an example for that, further information, which is in documents and other areas and so on, has always been relevant and has always been knocking on SAP's door, right? There was Quentin Clark, SAP's business officer, who came from Microsoft with a lot of pedigree, who was the first person to make Hasso Plattner admit in public that there's areas which you cannot keep in memory. And if my memory serves me right, that was 16, 17 at a Sapphire Q&A, where with a big sigh, Hasso would say, yes, this is not just possible, but there's things like in social media, as an example. And I think IoT was the other example where Hadoop-style technology would be relevant. But it all went away. Similar, and I got ahead of myself, the 2014 announcement with already then partner Databricks. Funny how 10 years or 11 years even later, Databricks is a relevant partner again, which was completely on the background of Databricks coming out of Sparks and completely being an in-memory solution for unstructured data in memory, which was still the SAP thinking everything's going to be in memory that relies for business information in 2016 beyond. Next attempt was Sapphire 2019, 2020, namely on this. It was Hasso on stage, gave the most of the credit keynote front to a gentleman called Gerrit Katzenmeier, also no longer with SAP, talking about I believe it was the Business Data Warehouse Cloud. That was positioned as being able to access object storage and all the relevant information, other parts as well. Was really positioned as the, I would say, Snowflake killer or Snowflake alternative, the data warehouse and steroids in the cloud, didn't also fizzle out, right? So here we have a long history of SAP running into what matters and not doing what it matters, which was first with the first Databricks partnership from 2014, then with the attempts, whatever happened behind the scenes, never materialized for us analysts, with what Quentin Clark instigated with Hasso Plattner at the time in the HANA area. Then what Gerrit Katzenmeier did in the area with the data warehouse cloud, I believe now. And now we find ourselves in 2025, and all the way from the top, all the way from Christian Klein, it is clear why SAP needs to change that stance, why SAP needs to do something. And it comes back to the anomalous, everywhere present two letters, AI, artificial intelligence. And why is it so relevant? It's relevant because enterprises need data to train the AI models. Maybe some confusion on this, and the things Fallout read here, always esteemed John Reed, who wrote a nice piece about the summarizing. Maybe some confusion on the LLM area there, but take a look at it. I tried to link to this on the bottom of this. The key thing is, in my perspective, that you have to have all the data together, right? We don't know how we're going to do LLMs, AI specific in the enterprise 100% yet. What we know from the consumer guys, the open AIs and so on, they take all the data for themselves. They store all the data for themselves. Yes, the observer would say they want to take all that data for themselves because they don't know if they're going to steal, scrub, whatever, legally, ethically, hopefully ethically, they got that the next time. But it's very clear that if I have to retrain models over and over again about content, not digging into the geeky side of the AI side, not having a chance to tell you, oh, this part of the data in my LLM hasn't changed, so I'm just not going to retrain that and reuse it. We don't have that capability at the moment. We might have this later this year potentially, which could be relevant, but it's clear that you want to have all the data together. You also want to have all this data together. Let's forget AI for a second, right? Look at my report, my last recent report. I should link to this here as well. There's only one enterprise IT strategy right now. A unique thing, I should make a separate video, don't want to digress to it too much, but it is clear that you have to create the data foundation for your enterprise from that perspective. And let's forget AI for a moment. Let's just give your business the chance to analyze its own data, right? If you're in Google Cloud, put a Looker on top of that. If you're on AWS, put QuickSight onto that. If you're on Azure, put Power BI or whatever it is right now, they're over it. Your business, if you're the CIO of the company who provides a data cloud, will kiss their feet. And let's look at what it has done in the industry, right? It's not like other ERP vendors have not done it. The notable thing to quickly address this, key competitors of SAP being primarily Oracle and Workday have not answered and fully done that too. I might delve in that in a little more detail too, but I'm already talking since almost 7 minutes here. So the competitors who have done this, Infor is the classic example now, who is Infor, minor, very verticalized ERP provider, but they've done data lake right away 2013-14. Also in the space, little subsegment on the HR side, ADP. The ADP data cloud's been around also since 2014-15. And in both cases, it has helped both vendors extremely well, even before there was this thing about AI, right? Interesting enough. Now, why is it so relevant for AI? Because there's literally a battle for getting the information out there. And what did an SAP customer have to do who saw the light and realized I need to have infinite insight capable? I need to have a data lakehouse, data lake, whatever in the cloud, call it what you want. I need to have a way where I can put all my data without knowing when I want to analyze it, and that I can just analyze and query everything. It might not be lightning fast, it might not be in memory, but I can get the answers that I'm looking for. And that solution is the Business Data Cloud. So from that perspective, we're getting a new lease of life, of being relevant for beyond the 2020s, being beyond the transactional and the data warehouse era, which all comes from the 80s, 90s, or even longer ago from last century, is a very, very important innovation. That's why I think it's the most important innovation that SAP has done on the platform side in the path of our century here right now. Now, the other big news is SAP is not building the technology itself. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the Christian Klein, SAP will not embark into something that SAP embarked into Arthur Plattner's leadership, building something like HANA, which would be a separate video to say, was that a smart decision or not? Where could SAP be if it wouldn't have invested all that talent, capital, and so on into HANA? Would it be in a better place or worse place? Great speculation for another video at some point. But what is clear is SAP partners for technology again, right? And SAP partnering for technology, focusing on the business application is good. Databricks is a good solution for that. They could have gone to Cloudera, right? They could have gone to other places, but they have to go someone who's proven to build lake houses, data lakes in the cloud to create that foundation of the modern enterprise data for it. And now literally the battle for the data is on. What would a customer done by themselves? They had to do it themselves, right? And Christian Klein didn't get tired to say that Ali Ghazi was saying, hey, my customers are complaining. It's so hard to get data out of SAP. Yes, it's a very complex system. We know how many thousands of tables, views, and so on, some of them with German table names and field names and so on. So it's not easy to get the data out, but people have done that. And people are doing this continuously. Now, how will people do that? And I think, in my view, SAP kind of confused the message a little bit with their slides on Data Cloud saying, oh, by the way, which I understand is important, all the old existing data products are not gone. They have not been killed, right? So everything which SAP has done before on the data side, the data warehousing capabilities with BW, the data sphere capabilities, all of them are there. If that will be in the federation space and the real implication, or will be more of a replication, we'll see. I have said this many times before, I'm a firm believer in the replication camp. And we can discuss this another time as I'm here 10 minutes. But that means now, for the first time, SAP is ahead of Workday. SAP is sort of kind of ahead of Oracle because Oracle announced also a lakehouse at their Open World conference in September 2024. Not sure if it has yet the endorsement and the embracement on the application side, which is the critical part. And the critical part, what customers want to have from SAP or any of the ERP vendor, I want every transaction that I have in my ERP system available in my infinite insights, in my lakehouse, data lake, whatever you want to call it, capability, object storage, as my colleague Doug Henschen likes to call it in the cloud, which I can query and use for analytical purposes, for, as I mentioned before, of course, for AI, but also very interesting, for building my new next generation modern AI-infused applications, which sit not on a pure transactional schema, which sit not just crunching some logs, but can look at all that information, which is something, by the way, which CRM market leader Salesforce has done, right? Salesforce moment of BDC was Salesforce announcement of Genie in September of 2022. If I don't mention, forget to link it, look at my report about the interface or the benefits of the architecture of Genie, because that's what it does for SAP as well. So the battle is on where's the data going to be stored. In a third-party data lake, which I have for my company, because I don't want to have too many of those around. The one where I have a lot of data gravity on the transactional side, where my company is running on, which is going to be my ERP solution. And it has to be, and that's so important, it has to be, and that's been confirmed in New York last week, confirmed by Michael Ameling, the head of SAP's Business Transactional Platform. It has to be the foundation for building new modern applications in SAP, which SAP got right from that perspective. Yeah. The very interesting thing is I had the chance to ask the head of products, I believe, Mohammed Alam, in New York, and saying, like, will SAP BDC also be available for ECC customers, right? Those customers who are under pressure to upgrade to S4HANA and so on. And he said, absolutely, that will be the case. And that is super important, important thing for SAP customers, because first of all, right, the unhappy ASAC, DSAC, whatever customer advisor, people saying, hey, my people are not seeing this, are not getting to this. We're not getting return for our maintenance fees. Now they're going to get a return for maintenance fees because SAP, of course, being an applications company, what are they going to build on SAP BDC? They're going to build inside apps. Nice. Great to see those inside apps. Hopefully they create value. Little disappointing personal from my side because it's 2025. It shouldn't be only about insights. It should be insights to actions. But we have this whole thing. That's another video here. Like, what happens if somebody comes in the enterprise, sees something is wrong, and then everything happens outside of the enterprise application. So that's one of the problems. So hopefully those inside apps, good for them to have. Hopefully they create value. The important thing, they create value both for S4HANA customers and for ACC customers. Now, going a little more beyond and a little more fantasizing of what could be possible, why I would be excited as an ECC customer. If I can get all my data into SAP BDC as an ECC customer, if I can benefit from those analytical applications, I can also benefit from the modern tooling, which is built in BTP to build modern applications, which somehow have to be able to communicate from both sides. But this also means that my code, because remember, ABAP code is transaction code in tables in the SAP system, it's a declarative system, is also available. And if there's a chance to move many of the SAP ECC customers in an elegant, efficient way over to S4HANA, to the clean core, that will be with the help of machine learning, of AI. And the code conversions, if you want to dig into this, are one of the most promising areas delivering of Gen AI. So new apps will be able to be built on BTC. None have been announced. Sapphire is going to come. I'm not going to say it's going to happen. I don't know if anything of this happened. But with this, an ECC upgrade looms. So, long story talk, long story, short essence. I think it's the most important lease of life that SAP has in the next 20 years. It will be very important, of course, that it will win to be the data gravity, and the data gravity doesn't go to the cloud providers, to the Amazons, to the Azures, to the Google Clouds, to the Alibabas, and so on. It will be important that it will provide all that data in a both bidirectional way, so the customers will have a near to transactional part. And let me reminiscence on one little piece of history here, right? When SAP came late, also the data warehouse in the late 90s, the key innovation at the time was, right, that SAP opened, and let me get very technical down dirty, a thing which is called the update task, which is the way how in every ABAP transaction something is written to the physical disk. SAP did heart surgery to the update task. And the update task was opened that the transaction would only be committed when it was on the physical disk. It would be also committed only when it would be in the BW table. So SAP BW was, to my knowledge, is the only large-scale, out-of-the-box analytical application which has transactional consistency with the OLTP in the OLA system. And that is also very important by a tell a story. That is also super critically important in the data cloud era, because the data cloud will run agents, and those agents need to know in real time, or AI applications, doesn't have to be agents, could be autonomous, have to know in real time what is happening in the transaction database. So you most likely, given latency network, cannot do the same trick which you could do on a single machine or closely connected machines in the 90s between ERP application and the data warehouse application. But it means that you most likely can get close to real time of that. And that is something which, again, I mentioned them before, Salesforce did in September 22 with almost real time under second parts, which is good enough for running an agent which is upselling the next product based on the product, knowing a price, knowing the availability. It's a HR agent which is finding for you a shift which just got taken by somebody else, and so on. AI applications need close to real time, but it has to be real time sitting on a data foundation, which is not only transactional data, but all the other unstructured data. All right, let's see. What did I forget? Let me see while I've been talking here, looking at my notes, if there's been anything on the comment side, on the social side. Nothing really coming in there, not a big deal, but about 200 people have been watching me. So let me know what I missed. Let me know what you see wrong. I'm 100% sure I'm missing something. Look forward to hear from you. This is Holger Mueller from Constellation Research. Many thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Have a good day. And let me know what you think of SAP BDC.